many people, when they see very powerful families, they long to be a part of those families. I don't know if there's something that is worse than belonging to those families. There's a lot of power play. I have been around money. I have gone with the Mercedes-Benz's back left. I have schooled with people who are in the State House. I have seen the destructive power of worldly wealth. In our family, people don't talk to each other. They hate, the amount of hate is so great. And yet they have the wealth. Dark wealth is very dangerous. I have seen what it has done. I have watched my family for 50 years. And wealth has consumed, it's still consuming them. Can you believe it, Justus, that I'm now thanking God that I was kicked out of, I was not a shareholder in that wealth. Can you believe that? I have come to a point where I've said, thank you, Lord. It's like he picked me up, the last born, like Joseph, the littlest, nothingest, and he separated me with the moguls. And there is nobody in that whole family apart from me who is stable. Nobody. Even my other brothers, even their children, me alone. So there's rejoicing in my heart that God picked me. It was painful. Joseph's journey was painful. I'm now in a position to go back and pull someone out of the mire that I had been in. I came into this world unexpectedly. My mom, I was told that at 55 years of age, my mom started feeling discomfort in her stomach. And she honestly did not know that she was pregnant. And she did give birth to a nice girl, and that was me. And she had been praying for a girl, for a baby girl, because she had 4 boys. She had 3 boys. So she wanted her 4th child to be a girl, to take care of her when she grew older. And I was born, and I was loved by my mom. My mom had given up. They were not even cohabiting with my father. It was an accident, so I heard. And they were both very happy to have a baby girl. So I was a lovely little girl who was loved, but I came to a place where there were no very nice schools in the rural area where they were staying. So that is where actually because there were no good schools, my big brothers offered to take me in. One of them offered to take me in and take me to a good school. And that is where my problems began. When I was around 5 years old, because there were no nursery schools in the 60s, in the village area where my mother was staying, my brother graciously wanted to give me a better education. His heart was in the right place. He loved me. Like I said, I was a little girl who was very loved. I was loved by my mom, by my dad, and my brothers loved me. In fact, they gave me a nickname, Gashi, which is a small something beautiful. And he took me, and what I remember about the transition is fear. I remember feeling uprooted from something warm and going to a place which I did not understand. It is not yet cruel, it is not yet evil, nothing is wrong with it, but I do remember that I went to St. George's Primary School. That is where I was taken to school, and I tried my best in school, but at home there was discomfort, always discomfort. I did not belong. I have never belonged. I never felt I belonged. I was never made to feel like part of that home. My mother gave me the name Purity because she wanted some purity. That name, Purity. She wanted something pure. She wanted me to become pure. And I like to think that it finally happened, although it wasn't easy. It did not start out pure. It did not start out nice. But now Purity has become that person that the mother wanted, that prayer that my mother asked God for, that pure girl, that person who fears the Lord has finally come to be. But it has taken maybe 50 years of walking with God, getting through the furnace, coming out, and finally it is happening. The funny thing is that I cannot remember those happy times. I know that they were there not because of pictures, there were no pictures, but I know that I feel that there was a time, the bond between my mother and myself, there's a time it must have been made, but the recollection that I have is of suffering. I do not remember being a happy little child. I remember being a child who was being punished without knowing why they are being punished. I remember I was a child who was kept in a different room from the others, in a different section of the house from the others. I remember I was a child who was full of fear of saying anything. I couldn't say anything. I would be a rejected child, a child who was not wanted, a child who many stories were told about this child. Many people had a lot to say about this child, and the child was silent. I was a very silent child. That is what I remember. And the first thing I remember from when I was a little girl is there was a tiny room in the house where I grew up. And in that little room, I would be locked inside that room. The person who took me under his care would come home over the weekend. And he would be told, Purity did this and that. Actually, they called me Shiko. He would be met with accusations. She did this, she said this. And he would never ask me what was it about? What did you do this? There was no conversation. I was called and I was locked inside that room and I was given dry bread and water. I remember this home, there was a cook, there was a shamba boy, and there was a house girl. So there is no way I can say I was made to do any work. All the workers were there. I was never punished with work. I was pampered in that way. But you'll find that I remember very clearly that my sister-in-law would actually be with her child. And as soon as I went near, I would be pushed away. So from a very early age, I knew that someone can recoil. I felt like I was dirty. Like there was something in me that was not acceptable to other people. And this impression, it was so strong, it took over any good impressions I had of me as a small child in my mom's. I only remember the warmth of being with my mom, very far. It's a very distant memory, but I know it's there because the reason that I know it's there is because I took care of my mom when she was old. And there was a very definite, beautiful connection. And that connection must have formed sometime. But I honestly cannot remember that time as a child. What I do remember is pain. I do remember approaching a mother and wanting to be part of the fun and being pushed away angrily. And I do know that I felt disgusting. I did not know what was disgusting about me. I was not told. Then there are the small things, like you tell your child, you do not do this, you do this. There are things that you talk to your child. If you have a 5-year-old and you're not talking to that child, you don't want to see that child. You don't want that child near you. The only thing that that child gets from you is a reaction. A reaction. Then that child will always, I grew up puzzled, wondering all the time, why? Why? The whole problem began with my sister-in-law. God rest her soul, because she's no longer with us. But for some reason, I have many times thought about her. And I thought, when I got pregnant with my own child, when I went to her house, she was pregnant with her baby, with her firstborn. And many times I thought, when I finally got pregnant, I thought, maybe this is why she recoiled. Because when you're pregnant, there are many things you don't want. You don't want to be bothered by someone else's baby. She maybe was not consulted. She was not told, I'm going to do you mind if I bring my sister? She was just, a child was brought and plonked. And maybe I did not behave in a good way. I cannot know. All I know is the reaction I got from her. The reaction of distaste, terrible distaste, and no speaking. There are experiments that I have read about now later about isolating a child or isolating a human being. You can isolate a person in the same room by speaking to everybody else and not speaking to that person. That is what happened to me. Nobody ever spoke to me about anything. I did not know anything. As we will come to see, I did not even know how periods begin. I was in a nun school by that time, and they were not teaching it, and nobody at home, but the other children were taught. The other children were taught etiquette. The other children were the small talks in the house that make a child know that they belong, that you shouldn't go this far, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't say this. Those small talks were never there. For me, I was isolated by no conversation, and I was to keep a distance from the other children. So my mind decided that I'm keeping a distance because I'm distasteful. And I knew I was ugly. I felt maybe that I smelled. I felt horrible. And that stayed with me until I was over 50 years old. I was in a home where the man of the home was away doing business. He was away working. In fact, those first few years, he was working in Uganda in a place called Tororo. And then after that, he went to England. So most of the time, I was with my sister-in-law and with her babies and with the other workers in that house. And at the beginning, I was, before the family became bigger, the first 3-4 years or so, I don't remember, I was actually sharing a room with one other child. But as the family grew, I was taken to a very different section of the house. I was taken to an upstairs bedroom, a beautiful place. I had a king-size bed. I had a beautiful bathtub, not a shower, a beautiful bathtub. You get in, hot water, everything. Everyone would think I should have been the happiest person. I had it all, and I would go downstairs only for meals. But that first isolation of no conversation, it went up now to isolation completely, as in you stay away from us. And between me and the rest of the family, there were very many doors, maybe 5 or 6 doors. I was upstairs, they were all downstairs. There were grills, and then there was a sitting room, there was a dining room between us, very, very many doors. I grew up alone. And the only time that I would be called is when I was being asked, why this? Why are you like this? And then the worst, I think, the time when I started realizing something is just very wrong, either it's wrong with me or something is wrong with where I'm staying is I would be told, when my brother is not there, I would be told, get away from us, go. As soon as my brother came in on Friday, I would be called and I would be told, my brother would be told, you see, she doesn't want to sit around with us. She's so evil. She just likes sitting by herself. How does a child be able, how does a small child's brain be able to play around with such a psyche? A person who will do one thing, a real woman, us women can be very serpentine. We can say this and then turn around and say this, but how is a young child supposed to cope with that? What was I supposed to think? That is how I started. I don't know whether I was going mad. I don't know. Something went wrong. My psyche was completely destroyed. Completely destroyed. Because when my brother would say, why aren't you playing around with the other children? I knew if I said she kicked me out, it would bring trouble. So I'd keep quiet. And as soon as my brother is not in the house, don't touch those bikes. Don't do this, don't. So I did not know who I was. I did not know what I was supposed to do. I did not know. There were so many standards. I could not comprehend them. I didn't even want to live. I did not want to live. And yet, I went to very, very good schools. My brother had promised to take me to good schools, and he could afford it, and he did. I went to very good schools. Now, unfortunately, the same lady would go to the school, and I don't know what would happen. This is something I found out later. She would go to the school, and then when my brother comes on Friday, she would tell him, do you know I went to school, and Shiko has been telling them that you're a bad brother. She would make up all sorts of stories, and I would wonder where all this is coming from. Maybe later on, my mom would tell me why are you spoiling the family name in the school? Who? Where? Because my brother would come on Friday, he would punish me without telling me it's about school. Then later on, I would know I was being punished because I went and did something in school, which I did not do. I started becoming confused. I started thinking I'm mad. I started thinking that I'm not okay. Something is not okay with. It was too confusing. It was so convoluted. It was so evil. When I was 55 years of age, just the other day, is when I started learning some of the things I should have learned when I was a teenager. I grew up blank. I grew up very, very bright, scholarly. I was an A student. I could look at a page, memorize it, and go and pass all my exams, and I did always pass my exams. But other than scholarly education, I had nothing else. I did not understand life. When I was around 55 is when I started seeing, this is how you should react. If someone is insulting you, you shouldn't run away. There are many, the milestones that should have happened, that I should have gone through at that early age, I did not. I grew up blank. I still do not understand who I was at this time, but I do know that I was very, very depressed. Now, looking back in hindsight, I realized that I was very, very depressed. I finished my KCPE, and I had 15 points. 15 points for someone who is they know that I was tip-top. Because all I did was study. But all I did was study school books. I never knew anything else. I did not see movies. I wasn't allowed in the sitting room. I did not talk with the other children in the house. And because I was not allowed to talk with the other children in the house, in school, I kept to myself. I never mixed with the other children in school. I was in the same class in primary school as people like Gideon Kibokotsia. And I remember seeing them and wanting to play with them, but fearing that if I got near them, they would recoil and hate that which is hated at home. So I played by myself. I became someone who was completely encased in self. A very, very ugly thing. It's not beautiful. God has taken that slowly to undo, because when I was totally self-absorbed, I could not relate with other people when they are feeling pain. I could not relate with other people's pain. I could not relate with other people's joy. I was a caricature of a human being. And when I finished my KCP, I passed very well, and I actually went to Kenya High School. And when I went there, I was very excited because I was going to be a boarder. But a boarder, when you don't know how to live with people, it just cannot work. And very, very, very soon, right at the beginning, the first term, the teachers realized there was something very, very wrong with this girl, this newcomer, this Form 1. I would go coil myself in a corner and just, the closest thing I remember is like a small puppy, a dog. When a dog is scared and that dog is in a new environment and there are other dogs barking, that dog that doesn't know how to fight, that doesn't know that it has the strength to fight, that dog will stay in a corner. That is what I did. And I believe the teachers are the ones who finally convinced them I cannot cope in a boarding school. There's no way I can cope. They saw, without staying long with me, that there was no way there's no way I could study. I did not have the aptitude of a Form 1 child. I was very, very well literate, but my mind was the mind of maybe standard 5, standard 6 child. Fear. I had so much fear. I would fear the teachers, I'd fear the other students. There was no way I was going to cope in a place where there are other people, because I didn't know how to cope with human beings. So they took me to Loreto Convent Msongari. And there I was a day scholar, and now unfortunately I had to stay in the same house. And I started passing my exams again. But remember that I was still in the same environment. Even in school, even in Loreto Msongari, I never mixed. I did try later, I did slowly, but I have met now, there are people who we went to school with. And even today, I can tell you about people, I can tell you even to names of people. And they also, I was a weird kid. I was weird. I could not mix. Not that I did not want to. I did not know how to talk with other people. I did not know how to communicate. All I knew is how to do a good job. The teacher said, do this, I'll do perfect. Draw this, I'll draw it perfect. Study this, I'll draw it perfect. But apart from that, I knew nothing else. When I tried to join with the others, it was clumsy, or maybe I'm the one who saw it that way. So I never blended in with the other people. And then by the time now I was 15 years old, the game was upped in the house. There was a lot more money in the house, and I remember they would go abroad and buy chains and buy clothes. And I remember when I finally, I think now when my mind finally, I don't know whether I should call it ruptured or burst, or I remember being called by my sister-in-law, and she had 3 chains and we were 4 girls. And she told me, Shiko, put on this chain. So I put it on, and she said, go and look at yourself in the mirror. And I went and I looked at myself, and she said, you look nice. And then she took it and told me, if your mother loves you, tell her to go and buy you a chain. And she did that over and over and over. She'd buy 3 dresses, not 4. Make sure that I'm the first person to try it on. The amount of cruelty was so great that is when I started collecting tablets. That is when I started hearing, I should die. I would be better off dead. I realized that there is a solution. I can die. I don't have to go through this. If I told my mom about it, my mom would say, you're spoiled. Because my mom stays in the rural areas. Girls my age are in the farm digging. And I'm pampered in my own bedroom with my own bathtub. What am I complaining about? I have a beautiful education. She could not see further than that. I was told, do not come here to spoil your brother's wife's name. And then I kept quiet. But when it started about the chain, in fact, the reason I told her is because it happened when she had come to visit in that house. There was a dress I was told to wear, and then it was taken from me. And I collapsed. I had started collapsing, actually fainting. I was having fainting fits, even in school. It's like my mind wanted to go. I just wanted to get away. And I would faint. And I don't know, I'd find myself being, people blowing wind or putting water on me. I would faint. I'd get a shock and just faint. Something was not okay with my mind. And then I started being taken to a psychiatrist at that point. They started seeing there's something wrong with this person. They did not see what had happened. They saw what is now. What is manifesting is what they saw, not what had brought on this. And I was never taken to a psychologist or an analyst, a psychoanalyst. Nobody. And in fact, if I was taken to someone, I don't think I'd be able to know how to talk to them. I did not know how to express myself. I didn't. I'm learning how to express myself at 50-something years old. My own child is telling me, Mom, when someone does this to you, you should say this. My children are teaching me how a human being reacts. So it took me, I was a mommy of a child. Inside my mind, I was a small child, but my body is growing. So finally, when I went to the psychiatrist, I would take those tablets in the evening and I would feel very calm. And that is when I started hearing the voices. Everything would be very good if you died. It would be perfect. They would be free of you and you would be free of them. And it seemed beautiful. Of course, there was no God in that house. There was no church. I never remember hearing anything. In my mom's house, when I went there once in a while, I was not allowed to go to my mom's place often. I believe now it is because I would go and maybe say what is happening. So I was always told, no, she can't go to Geshagi because she's studying. So anyhow, I didn't get a chance to go. But when I did go, I remember there would be people banging a drum and they would talk about Jesus. And that is when I started knowing that there is a Jesus somewhere. But I didn't understand it, the whole thing. And my mind was too heavy anyway. So I started hearing the voice that I should die. At around the same time, my sister-in-law started getting epileptic fits. And she would go abroad and come back with huge containers full of tablets, big things. And I knew these are the things that are going to kill me. These tablets are what I must get. So I started being a thief. So I would walk around when everyone else is not there and collect as many tablets without being seen as possible and hide them slowly. And that is how I got my first 400 tablets. I stopped swallowing mine because it was uncomfortable. My tablets made me relax. I didn't like the feeling of relaxing. I remember that relaxing. So I piled them. Mine, I piled. Hers, I took. I got 400 tablets. And that was the first time I tried to commit suicide. I decided I'm going to swallow all of them. And I decided I'm going to do it at around 11 o'clock. After the TV downstairs has been switched off, after the sounds have died down, everyone has gone. There are very many doors away. The guard at the guard place has switched off. Everything is quiet. And I did. I swallowed all of them, and I wrote a small note, and I kept it next to my bed. I just said, I don't remember what I wrote. I think maybe I just don't want to live. But then I found myself in Nairobi hospital the next day. I didn't understand why. I was the most angry human being. I was so angry. I was angry at everything. There were pipes everywhere, and I started tearing those. I'll never forget that, because I never felt the pain of the pipes coming out. I just started pulling these tubes and everything. I pulled, and I remember I had to be put in a straitjacket. That is the worst experience. Don't ever want to get into a straitjacket, because you can't do anything. And then after that, I was put in, there's a room in Nairobi hospital which is full of mattresses. I can't remember what that room is called. You can't do anything to yourself in that room, because the walls are mattresses, the roof is mattresses, and your hands are tied behind you in a straitjacket, and you just sit there and contemplate. But I had become wild, so I had to be put there. And later on, when I calmed down, or when they had injected me with enough tablets, with enough to calm down, is when I heard the story. That is when I started knowing that there is God. There is a higher power. That is when I realized you cannot kill yourself. Your life is not your own. Your life is held by another hand, by another power. And no matter how angry you get, not that I'll stop trying, but I realized that I could not take my life then. That incident of suicide should have been seen as a cry for help in a normal household. But there is a brother of mine who had a very beautiful woman, white lady, and I remember saying, Shiko is crying for help. Everybody else said Shiko's just spoiled. The lady who caused it never even came to see me in hospital. I had tried committing suicide many times even after that. She never once came. She did not want to see me. She did not want me near her, and she didn't care whether I lived or died. But I wanted to tell you the story about how I found myself, if I really took those tablets alone, nobody but me and God. So how come I ended up at Nairobi hospital? So I had a brother, a stepbrother actually. My father had gotten two baby boys outside marriage, and my mom had picked up those children and brought them up as her own. So they're my stepbrothers. One of them is still alive. I love him very much. So one of them, who is not alive, was actually drinking. The story that I heard later, he was drinking somewhere. There was something called boom. The money that was given to campus people, they used to call it boom in those days. So he had gotten his boom, and he was drinking somewhere. And this guy was not allowed in that compound, because he would get the boom, he would climb over the fence, steal the car. He had a way of stealing the car, bribing the watchman. Or I don't know how he did it, but he wasn't allowed inside that compound. So he was drinking somewhere far away. And then he tells me that he had the name Shiko. And he's drinking, and he can't drink anymore because of this resounding Shiko, Shiko, Shiko. And then he got this huge desire. He has to see Shiko. Something drove him all the way. I think it was in South Sea or something. I don't know where it was. And he got a taxi. He came. He jumped over the fence. It's a wall. And he bashed up the watchman. And when they saw that they cannot stop him from banging down the doors, they actually started realizing maybe he's onto something. They helped him get up there into my room. And when they banged down the door, they saw the note. And they realized she's trying to kill herself. There is no way anybody could have known. It was God who did that. God was not finished with me. God stopped me dying. And that was the first time. And he did that using drunk people 3 times. And then the other 5 times he used other methods, because I tried to commit suicide 8 times. I was still not through with committing suicide because the voices were coming. But that is the first time I realized I'm not really in charge of there is another power. You cannot just kill yourself. Your life is not your own. I learned by trying to commit suicide that there is a bigger planner of our lives, that there is a bigger power who is in charge of. That is the first time I came across a higher power and a good power. But with that came the question, then why did I have to go through all that? Why? If you're going to save me now, why did I have to go through all this pain? Why is it that I've been crying since I was 5 years old or even before? I remember very, very many times raising my little silly fist at God and saying, what is this? I used to call it Russian roulette. That was the best thing I could come up with. That's what I thought, although now I do not see it that way. Saving someone in order for them to continue suffering. What is the point? Because he saved me, yes, and I'm still going through pain. And the person who is persecuting me is not going to stop because I tried to die. She doesn't care. She still got her own anger. She still doesn't want me. So anyhow, I went through trying, I think 2 more times in that house. And I was saved 2 more times from committing suicide. And I was not happy with this higher power. I was not. But by the time I had finished Form 4, everybody, and I still passed very, very well. I had fantastic A's, my O-levels, beautiful results. I don't know how, God's glory, by grace of God. So after that is when now I just put my foot down. Now I told my mom, I do not want to stay in this house anymore. The torture had gone to an alarming level because we did everything. Like, I remember there's a time that we would go as a family to Robinson Baobab Hotel in Mombasa. And it was a beautiful thing. We were supposed to go there and enjoy us, but it turned out to be torture for me. Because the same tortures that were done in the home, they went there and they were meted out in that place of relaxation. I remember there's a time that I was told that I'm trying to sleep around with some beach boy. So every experience I was supposed to have came with a pinch of pain. Life became so unbearable. I did not want to live, but now at the back of my mind, I knew that there is something else apart from this pain. I did know. I think that is the first time after Form 4, that was 1978, is when I started realizing an inkling, very, very, very thin, tiny little light at the back, knowing that there could be hope somewhere. But I still did not understand and could not agree with that light, because where is the hope if I'm still going to have pain? So I went to Limuru Girls' School because I had passed very well and I was finally out of that house. And unfortunately, I was not a very good girl. I went there, I could not study. My mind was scattered. I was so bright that we used to do 3 principal subjects and a subsidiary subject. Someone my age would understand that. You guys won't understand this. But I did 4 principal subjects because I was so sharp. And one of them was math. And I was passing throughout. But as soon as I sat down to do the exam, I would collapse. When I sat down to do the mocks exams, I collapsed. When I sat down to do the final A-level exams, I collapsed. Fear. The fear that I had grown up with, that fear had become me. I had become that fear. That fear had took total control of everything. And from then on, my life just went downhill. So from not finishing my A-levels, I did sit for them much later on. I didn't perform very well, but I did sit for them. But at that time, I had to leave. And then I started getting episodes of, I would run around. It's like my mind was not okay. I would run around, like psychotic episodes. So I had to be let go very many times. And this time, I would be let go and I would go to my mom's farm. I would not go back to that house. I knew that there's danger there. But from that time, I was like a manic depressive person. I was not all there. My mind snapped. And the fact that I'm able to sit here today and know what I want and tell my story and rejoice in the Lord this is the greatest testimony ever. Like, God is true and he is alive and he is powerful, and there is nothing greater than God. There is no evil that God can not overcome. He was walking with me through it all. After Form 6, I went and I decided, Mom, I don't want to stay in the house. I went and I got a small job as a clerk somewhere. And there was a young man, not a very young man, an older man who was around 38 and I was 19. And he wanted to marry me. Basically, he wanted me because he saw the family I came from. He did not realize I too did not belong in that family. Because these people, you're being dropped by a car. You look like you belong somewhere good. And so finally he raped me and I got pregnant. And he said that's what I wanted. So I was so frightened of my father, I agreed, okay. They paid dowry, and I became a wife. And I was beaten thoroughly by that man. It became another time of turmoil. I got a baby girl, a beautiful girl that I love so much. Lovely girl, perfect. And that is a gift from God. In the midst of thorns, roses come out. That is my rose in that time of turmoil. But right now, I do not understand who I am. I am manic depressive. I have gotten married to a man he's also from a very rich family. He was from a very wealthy family. So they wanted that family and our family to connect. You know how that is how people do things outside there. The big families, they want to marry within themselves so the wealth stays. But I wasn't even present in all that. I was how do they say? I wasn't there. It's like a leaf falling and being put in. I wasn't part of their plan. I wasn't aware that I was supposed to be. I don't even know who I was. So this poor little baby girl is being brought up by a mother who doesn't understand who she is. I remember many times I would land in Nakuru War Memorial Hospital because he would beat me up so badly. He wasn't beating me up because of anything apart from the fact that I'm not connecting him with my family, or maybe I'm not allowing him. I'm not cooking him the food that he wants to eat when he comes he would come with girls, and I would make the bed for him. Because I didn't know boundaries, remember, I didn't know that a wife is not supposed to be kicked out of her bed and her husband sleep in that. I would be kicked out of my bed. I would make the bed for him and I would cook for him with a jiko. With that girl. I didn't know it was wrong. It hurt when he hit me because I did not cook meat. And I ended up, he did not love me. Basically, that's what I'm saying. That sexual assault did not seem to be anything to me. Even today, when I remember it, that seems to be the least of my problems. Many people, when they are raped, they think it's a big thing. But there are things that you can go through in life where rape seems small. There are pains that can take over your whole body, your whole mind, your whole being. The aggression of rape seems small. I do not count the rape as anything big in my life. It was a circumstance of who I was. I wasn't mature. I had a beautiful body, but I was not mature. I did not know how to behave. I knew that I did not want to sleep with this man. I knew that I did not do anything to entice him. But when he did it, it was just one more thing happening to me. It's nothing big. So many things have happened to you that you're numb. It is only your brain now that is calibrating, hurting, and piling, and it has taken the hand of God. That is why even after the first 3 suicides at my brother's home, that is why I would get to a place and start hearing voices again and try again to kill myself, try and drive off a river. I tried 8 times. The last time I remember trying, I had tried taking a tablet which is for restarting the heart. I took 11 tablets and I took apart the whole house and I started washing blankets so that my heart can already start overworking, so that when I take all those tablets, remember I have worked at my brother's chemist, so I know digoxin will kill me. If you take 2 tablets, it should kill you. I took 11. All I did was feel thirsty, hungry. I finished washing all the blankets. I kunjad all of them, and I was so angry with God. I want to meet him one day, and I want to tell him I'm sorry because the number of times I've been angry at him. Now when I look and I say, thank you. Thank you, did not let me die in sin. Thank you, you did not let me die at that time when I was defeated. Thank you because you still knew you had much more in store for me. Thank you because you were patient with me. You were patient with my nonsense. I was nonsensically, childishly, tantruming. And he was very good to me. God has always been good. He walks with us. And he walked with me. But the rape did not... I had been through too much pain to count the rape as a pain. In fact, when I got my baby, I didn't even remember that as anything bad. The pain that I remembered, until now it is completely healed. Now I do not feel that pain anymore. The pain that I remembered is the agony of growing up in a family where you're not wanted and you don't know why. No one is telling you what you've done wrong so that you can correct it. I would go to my mom and ask her, Mom, what did I do to my brother? Why wouldn't he ever talk to me? She never sat down and told me, there's a rift between you. It is a rift which I now see my sister-in-law made right from the word go. She decided to work on this rift because of this one thing. I was not supposed to inherit anything from that family. Basically, that is what all this was about. It was about wealth. I was not supposed to inherit anything at all. And when I found out that, by the grace of God, I found that out now much later, just a few years ago. Now I'm happy knowing that I have a God who has so much. He's so powerful. He's got lands, he's got cars, he's got buildings. There's nothing that I cannot get from him. So finally, a beloved brother of mine who is no longer alive, he heard about what was happening and he came and picked me up and took me back to Nairobi. But my mind was still not healed. We went with my baby. I love my baby. I couldn't let go of my baby. And I started working now in Nairobi. The man did not want to relinquish his part of being part of this powerful family. So he kept on following me, and I found myself having to be hidden away in Israel, in a different country. And I went there and I did things. But through all that, the thing that would have helped me now, when I look, is getting closer to God. walking step by step, knowing God, being his disciple, studying, but I didn't. Because my family, remember, does not know. They do not have, my big brothers, they love me, but they're interested in making money. And this brother really tried to set me up as a hotel, as a shop manager. He gave me a car. He really loved me. He did. But he couldn't understand what was wrong with my brain. I was not okay. I would get into that car and hit cars on the road. My brain was damaged. I was a big woman with the brain of a child. I was not mature inside. I loved my brother because I remember wherever I saw him, I would go and sit next to him. I felt safe where he was. I always felt safe near him. And his wife was white. She passed on 2023, and she was a beautiful soul. And I felt safe for the first time in my life near them. Now, this is where it gets a little bit painful, because when my sister-in-law realized that someone is trying to build me up, because my brother got to a point where he asked me to go and see a counselor, which is the right step. She actually came in, and what she did, I have got no idea, but everything soured up, and I cracked up again. Things just went wrong. Everything went haywire, because when you're not mentally stable, it takes something very small to make you blow up. So I found myself finally back in my mom's house at the farm with my baby girl. My problem sister-in-law did not get on well with my white sister-in-law. My white sister-in-law loved the family. She loved us. She took care of us. She embraced us. She wanted us all to grow. She was secure in her marriage. And then, all of a sudden, this other sister-in-law got into her life. How she got into her life, I cannot understand. And when they started working together, everything changed. I was kicked out of the shop. My brother died. Everything just went haywire, and I found myself whereas I had been the manager of the shops, whereas I had been importing stuff and selling them and doing the best business, all of a sudden I was kicked out. And I know it wasn't my white sister-in-law. I heard stories about what is happening behind the scenes. Now, many people, when they see very powerful families, they long to be a part of those families. I don't know if there's something that is worse than belonging to those families. There's a lot of power play. There's a lot of pushing and pulling, and I want to take over this is mine, and this one shouldn't get. There's a lot of power play behind the scenes. And if your faculties are not intact, and me being the way I was right from the beginning, there's no way I knew how to play those power games. So when they did something wrong, I would dipuka and, she's mad, and of course I'd be driven out. I was very easy to evict because I was not whole. I was not stable. I was not stable enough. You have to be stable to fight. You have to be stable to know where to put your foot down. You have to be stable to know you belong there. I should have known I belong there. My brother had died and left me there, but I wasn't stable enough to know. So when things started being said and you shouldn't be there, don't take away the keys of the shop, I just, instead of standing like an adult, I did not know how to behave like an adult. I lost it, and I found myself going crazy again at my mom's farm. When I was staying with my brother, he took the trouble to connect me with counselors. And right from the beginning, when I tried to commit suicide the first time, I had seen a little bit of light where there was God. That where I didn't know it was God. I knew there's a higher power. And I actually started searching for that higher power. I needed it, so I was thirsty for that. It is all I had. There's nothing else that I had. I did not have family. I did not have friends. I had nothing. I didn't even have my own mental faculties. All I could see was I needed that power, that hand that can stop you from killing yourself. And the more times I tried to kill myself, the more times I got annoyed at him, the more times I realized I need him. So deep inside me, I had started talking to people when I meet people about prayer. In Limuru Girls, we were taught about prayer. When I was okay, I remember we would pray there. So I'm learning about God. I'm still angry at God because he's saving me and not taking me out of the situation. It's like putting out the whole building, but you're still in some fire inside that building. He's not taking you out of that fire. And slowly by slowly, he started manifesting himself to me in life. If I had grown with my brother's wealth, like he wanted me to, and if I had become a very big shopkeeper with him, and I gotten big buildings, I would never have come to the close relationship I have with Christ like I have now. Because at that time, my brother himself was drinking. He was really into alcohol. I was smoking. We were doing all manner of things to run away from. I was popping pills. I was manic. So God needed to finish off so that I can connect. Ile kugonga chini, ile Moses was now, when he fell down, in that film we see where Moses falls down in that desert and he's eating sand. I needed to get there. And I finally got there. But every time, when I stayed with my mom at the farm, I started farming. It was a very big farm. And I did very well. And when I started getting much better at it, the same brother with my toxic sister-in-law, they came and sold the farm. So I found myself without any means of income at all, whatsoever. I had done a secretarial course, and I tried to get a job. Now, there are things that families can get into. There are societies, let me put it that way, that families can get into that can destroy some of the whole family. There are sources of income which deplete the bloodline of any blessing. Now, when I look back now, the reason that God wanted me, the reason that I would build myself and he would allow it to collapse, is because I had to stop the bloodline curses that came down to me from whatever had been done in my family. My family had been completely steeped in idolatry right from the beginning. I now know that. I'm 100% sure. There was idolatry. Idolatry brings curses. And those curses needed to be broken. I needed to realize what is happening so that they do not flow down. Now, these curses, they bring alcoholism, which was there in my family. These curses bring bestiality, which was there in my family. These curses bring things like women going with women, what is it called? They bring sexual immorality, sexual weirdness, all those things we could see, suicides, all those things, because of the bloodline curses, because of the idolatry, which when I traced I traced it right back to my grandfather. And I needed to be the one to stand, and that is where I am now, standing and it ends with me. The Bible says, when you search for me with all your heart, you will find me. In the 1970s, I started seeing like there was a light somewhere, but I did not comprehend it. I could not. My mind was a mess. Then I slowly tried to walk towards that light, and as I walked towards that light, I was helped by this brother who took me to a counselor. Actually, that counselor did talk to me about God. I remember that she was a white lady and she knew God. But not Jesus Christ. But I'm walking slowly knowing that there is a higher power. Limuru Girls is the first place where I knew about Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Yes, Loreto Msongari was, but it was Catholic. It was very strict, and I was not sane enough anyway to understand what was happening. So as I walked and I looked and I studied, I started seeing things. The older I got, I asked myself questions. Why all this pain? Because when I read the Bible, he tells me that he loves me. So if he loves me, and if he saves me every time I try to kill myself, why is it that I am in this pain? Where has this pain come from? What is really happening? And if you ask enough questions, if you look deep enough, you will be guided. I have searched slowly, fasted. I got to a point where I'm fasting. I even got to a point where I went to a church where they put a white scarf on you. I have searched for God with everything I have. I have been conned of all my material money by the churches, but God knows that my heart was searching for him, and he did not let me down. I saw things that if you see these things, these are the things that make me want to tell my story. The things that make me want to tell my story is that people, our ancestors were steeped in idolatry. There were trees under which things were done. In the Kikuyu setup, there were trees, the Mogumo tree. Those trees, under those trees were those adulated, where they poured the pombe or whatever they did. I don't know what they did. That is idolatry. When I searched, I realized that one of my grandfathers was actually a witch doctor. And I searched harder. I started seeing. Then I started seeing what the Bible says. What are the sins? What happens when you have idolatry in the family? It's very clear. When you have idolatry in the family, you'll find bestiality. You'll find anger. There is anger in my family even today, not my family, but my wider family. You find people even wanting to cut each other up. You find a woman marrying a woman. You find alcoholism, addictions. There are things that bind, and with every generation, the enemy gets a greater hold. So when you start seeing these things, start going backwards. As you pray, Jesus Christ died so that we can be free from all these curses. These bloodline curses need not follow us. If we look at Ahab and Jezebel, they did all the wrong things. But look at Jezebel's daughter. She did it twice as much. So with every new generation, the enemy comes and takes a greater hold. It multiplies. And then another generation, and it gets a bigger hold. Do you imagine it's going to be simple for that person who's going to stand and say, no, it ends with me? That person is going to be bashed. That was me. I have had to go to Christian counselors, and they have guided me, because the Bible says, I will revisit your sins up to the 4th and the 5th generation. Now, yes, Jesus Christ died. If right now I'm in a committee And the president says Shiko should be allowed to go out. If I do not accept that pardon, if I do not grab it and hold on to it, I will still lounge inside committee. I have to take it for myself, grab it, and walk with it. I am free. And that is what we do. When we take Christ's pardon, it becomes a pardon, and we stand, and it is not easy. I know when I started standing with, when I realized what was really eating me all those years, over 40, almost 50 years, when I realized what it was the hardest part of the battle. In fact, there's a time I thought I was dying now, not of suicide, for real death. My body was beaten up, my mind was, but I knew what I was doing. I knew that there is something called warfare. Christian warfare is real. And if you're going to go against what the generational plans of the enemy are, you're going to get it rough. But guess what? He has overcome the world. Yes, you will stand there, and the wind will buffet against you, and you're going to feel like you're dying, but you're an overcomer. You're not going to die. You're not going to die. If Jesus Christ did not allow himself to die on that cross and to take the pain and to look death in the eye, would we be saved? No. So any of us who are watching the traditional things done in our family, because what they do is that they multiply. My grandfather might have just done some pouring of something at the foot of the tree, or maybe spilling intestines and reading them. But the next generation will want to go a little bit further. And it's not them who will want. They will be led in that way by the powers that are behind from their fathers. And what happened is that people in my family actually got into secret societies. And those secret societies is where you curse. You actually, in order to go from level A, there are 33 levels in this particular one. So in order to go from the first Freemason stage, every single stage you have to curse. You have to curse, you have to say, oh, cut off my tongue, I don't know, do what. There are things that the Bible has said, do not swear. The Bible actually says, do not swear, let your yes be yes or no be no. But these people actually swear an oath. The times when they swore those oaths, they gave us who are below them over to the enemy. The most profound thing I can think of is that the devil, the worst, the mightiest weapon of the enemy is not knowing that he's there, is him being able to work in such a way that we do not know that he's there. He's hidden himself. He will not, Jesus Christ, they say he knocks and he waits for us to open. He will never barge in. But the enemy will barge in, but he'll make sure that you don't know that he's inside. By the way, Freemason doesn't give you money. It gives you connections. It connects you. It protects you when you do the wrong thing. It's a society hidden. Anything that is hidden isn't right. Yeah. Why should it have to be hidden if it's good? But it is the motivating factor is wealth. And why is it that Jesus Christ tells us to fix our eyes on him? Does he not want us to be wealthy? He does. I'm 100% sure that Jesus Christ doesn't want me to walk from here to Nairobi. He doesn't want me to walk 20 kilometers. He wants to give me the money to be able to get into a car and go. He loves me. He wants me to wear nice clothes. He wants to provide for me. He tells me that you will not die but live to declare the goodness of the Lord in the land here. But the mind, the weapon is in the mind. I want to be better than Justus. I want to be better than my brother. I want to kutambulika ni mimi. He bought a Mercedes, I can buy a helicopter. Pride ego. And the deeper you want to get in, the higher you have to get in those. There are 33 steps. I have actually been studying that thing for so long. I don't even want to discuss it now. But those secret societies, the Bible has said not to join them. And when you join them, when you actually look at your life right now, any viewer who is listening, if you look at your life and you see a great amount of wealth, and then you see bestiality in your family, you see cancer in your family, you see diabetes in your family, you see Alzheimer's, you see every single disease, you see suicide, think. Go back to the drawing board. Ask God, what is happening? When there's so much suffering and so much hatred, this one cannot talk to this one. They do not talk to each other. In our family, people don't talk to each other. They hate. The amount of hate is so great. And yet they have the wealth. Why are they fighting? Because it is not. God's wealth brings together. You enjoy eating with your brother. You enjoy slaughtering something and sharing and giving to your neighbors. But demonic wealth brings rifts and hatred. I have to be better than so and so, and I'll do anything to get there. That is what is finishing us, and that is what the enemy is capitalizing on. When we want to get better and better, and finally that wealth kills you. You do not enjoy it because it comes with so many diseases, so many problems. You do not enjoy it. You have millions in the bank and you can't even eat a potato. You can only eat a raw cabbage. What good is it going to do to you? So it is wealth. Wealth and being better off than the other person. And then this other thing of trying to make sure, like they made sure, everyone wanted to make sure that I don't get anything. The thing is, that is what God wanted also. God wanted me not to get part of that wealth. If I have 2 houses, and each house has 4 beds. How many beds can I sleep in, for goodness sake? Why do I want two houses and I can only sleep in 1 bed at any one given time? And there's someone sleeping outside who needs a bed. We want to, and it is not us. The king of this world, who Adam gave dominion to, wants to destroy us using our own lusts and desires. I have a wife, but I want that woman and that woman and that woman. So I make that soul tie. I make so many soul ties, and each soul tie comes with their own soul ties, and I destroy myself. And that is what. Have you ever wondered, why is it that the devil wants you to sin? If you do not sin, he cannot get you. If you do what God said, you're safe. Job was fenced. And God said, have you seen my servant Job? Yes, I have. But look, you have protected him. He's fenced. He's fenced completely. I can't get at him. There's no evil that can befall on that guy. So he says, okay, touch him. And he was touched. And everything is dying. And still Job did not sin. And he was still alive. But the only reason that the enemy wants us to sin, I keep on telling people this, the enemy wants you to sleep around so that he can finish you, so that he can embarrass you, so that he can shame you. He just has to separate you from the one who loves you. I got a son later on out of my own now volition, and he needed to go to high school, and I didn't have money. I was continuously not having money. And God, I prayed, and he took me up, and I was lifted up, and I was taken over a school, and I was shown buildings, beautiful buildings. And then I was zoomed in onto the uniform of the students. And then I was taken and shown the doorway where there is a number of a doorway, and I was told, go to that doorway. And then I woke up. It took me 2 months to find that school, to find someone where I was at that time in Ukunda. I couldn't find anyone who knew a school looking like this. I'm trying to describe what I saw at night. And It took me 2 months. And when that lady, her name was Mama Anthony, when she saw, she said, oh, that is Moiforce's Academy. And she gave me, here, you need 200 shillings. You want to go there? I said, yes. Here's, I didn't even have the fare to go, but I have the dream. So I went there, and I went to that number. And when the lady opened the door, she says, what has taken you so long? And she went inside, and she's crying, and I'm crying. And she brought me pojo, she brought me rice, God had told her, prepare these foods for the lady who is going to come. So she's asking me, why I was told this a long time ago, how come you're coming now? And I told her I couldn't find it, I didn't have the money. I told her all sorts of things. So she said, your son is supposed to come here. And I say, yes. Who else, apart from a mighty God, can make a connection like that? I was a new person in Ukunda. I didn't have a job. I looked like a mad person. In fact, the Kenya Red Cross was taking care of me in Ukunda. And Muslims were giving me food. People were helping me. But God brings a dream or a vision. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether I was awake or what. And then when I go to that place, that lady tells me, come back in January, take this food in the meantime. So I go home with food and tears. And then in January, I go to the same lady, and my son is taken to Moiforce's Academy. I don't have any money. Moiforce's Academy, Mtongwe, was a very expensive school. And God makes that lady say, this child has to go to boarding school free. After some months, when I do get a job, I'm told you can pay 1,000 per month. Isn't that God? Is it possible for any other power to do such a thing? The same power that caused people who are drinking to come banging on my door and pull me out wanted to show me that there is more to this than he just said, you're not going to die. You are not dying. I have work for you to do. Even now, as I sit here, I know he has work for me to do. There's another time my son, he got on his toe, he got something started growing, and it grew until it was maybe half an inch. And he couldn't put on his shoes, and I didn't have a single shilling. And I finally felt I should pray for it. And I put my hand over it, and I felt I shouldn't look at it again. The next time I look at the boy, he's wearing shoes. And I'm like, how come you're wearing shoes? What happened to that thing that was growing? So that is the God that I have grown to see. That I'm very, very sick, and I tell him I have no money, and the next day I wake up fine. That I'm asking him for a job, and he gives me a job. That he opens a door for me, for my son to get a job, miraculously. A job that he did not apply for. I have seen miracle after, my life is still a life of miracles. I remember the present place where I'm working right now, which I won't mention. I remember sitting in my room, and I had a meal. You know how you can prepare a pot of food, and the last meal was to finish the next day, because I would eat only one sahani a day. And I read the Bible and said about the way Hezekiah turned to the wall and talked to God. And I said, I'm going to turn to this wall, and I'm going to tell God I have no more food. And I did. When I finished that food, I turned to the wall and I said, Father, I am not going to go outside and tell anybody that I have no food, because you have become my husband, and you have become my father, and you are my creator. And I'm not going to spoil your name outside there by telling people that you are unable. So I ate the food and I slept. And the next day, someone whom you know calls me and tells me, can you come to the office? And from that time, I had a meal. God is a God of miracles. And if I did not go through the desert and the pain and the burning, I would not know him as much as I do. One of the things I appreciate so much is I appreciate the pain I've been through now. I hated it. And I raised a fist at Jesus, at God. And now I say thank you. Thank you for this pain, because it has unveiled your face. I can see your goodness. Now even when I'm going through pain, because I still go through pain, I go through pain knowing that he's compassionate. He is a good God. I know I have got no bloodline curses over me, nor over my children, nor over my children's children, unless a child themselves wants to go back to that line. I know that God has taken care of me. Walking with God is when you go through adversity and you see him. It's like when Jacob slept and he saw a ladder. You see him in the small things. They look small, but sometimes they are very big. I have seen God giving me water to drink when I didn't have water. I have seen God sending people to feed me in places where I had been thrown. I didn't know anybody. I have not lived by being helped by my family members. Remember, they didn't want to see me. God, like Joseph, I grew up far away from my family, and they kept on saying how I'm a bad woman, I'm a drug addict, but I was just following God, and he was showing himself to me. He educated my children. I sat down in a place at a time, I think it was in 2020, and I said, God, you're so good. How did my children get this education? I have no idea. How did we get here? How come you've given them jobs? You know you're good. He does things. He has a plan for our lives. He has a plan. And I'm glad that he chose me to break the bloodline curses. You put 20 million gold coins there and tell me to leave Jesus, and I'll tell you to keep your money, because I've seen the danger of money. I have not seen anything. I have been around money. I have gone with the Mercedes-Benz's back left. I have stayed with people. I have schooled with people who are in the State House. I have seen the destruction, the destructive power of worldly wealth. And then I have had a taste of God in his compassion, that if he told me now, you're going to sleep, you're not going to live anymore, you're not even going to have a house, you're going to die just like that, I would be okay, because he knows what he's doing. I feel completely safe in his hands now. Whereas I have never felt safe, never felt comfortable, never felt loved. Now I feel totally loved, totally safe, no matter whether I eat or not, no matter whether I dress or not. I know that I have my all in all is Christ. There's this thing where the Lord was telling this person that the kingdom of God is like when you go and you're digging and you find some treasure, and you go and you sell everything, and you come and buy that piece of land because of that treasure. That is what I have found. I have found a treasure that I treasure. Right now, I do not desire to have big cars. I want him to hold this hand and do with it what he wants. I want him to use this mouth to say what he wants. I wake up and sometimes I just feel like crying when I think about him. I love Jesus. I really love Jesus Christ. I love him so much. I want me not to be seen at all, not to be heard. There's nothing about myself that is desirable without him. He is my everything. He is when I'm talking to him and when I can feel his presence is when I have my most beautiful times. It's taken so many years to get here. It's taken many, maybe 20, 30 years. It started off rough, like any couple, but it has come to a place where I do not want to be without him. I want him to completely take over and use me, because if I do anything of my own, Without him, I'll probably spoil something. But with him, everything comes out perfectly. I'm sorry. He's just so beautiful. Especially when you've been destroyed and hated, and when you've seen the world and you've seen that the wealth that we are running after. I do not have anything against wealth. I pray for God to bless my children with great wealth. Wealth is good, but it has to come from the one who created wealth, not from the dark side. Dark wealth is very dangerous. I have seen what it has done. I have watched my family for 50 years, and wealth has consumed, it's still consuming them. And wealth without God is not. God is everything. The wealth that has strife is a very painful wealth. And it shines and it looks so beautiful. It's a mirage. You want to go and get it, and the words inside your mind, if I could get this, I would buy this and I'd be happy. And I have seen that in my family. They have gone for that great wealth, for that mirage, and they have grabbed air. And I have seen them suffering in hospitals. I've seen them suffering in addictions. I've seen them suffering in terrible, terrible relationships between each other, hatred and strife. I would sit on a piece of land, and once I start working, it would be sold from under me. I would be kicked out. That is why I felt like there was something wrong with me. Because if the other people went there and did their business, they would be allowed to do it. But I was never allowed there. Now I see it is God who did not want me to get comfortable there. There are things that he wanted me, but what I would really want, if nothing else, if you see some things happening in your family, go back to the Bible. Go and see. There are things. It's the Bible clearly. Back in the Bible, it actually says, when he says that I will the sins of the fathers to the children. Yes, later on but the Bible says that in which book? The Bible does say that we shall not eat the sour grapes and my child suffer, which means that Christ came to cut that. But we must take, there are, how can I put this? How can I explain this? There is ground that has been taken from you. Ground that has been taken from, it's like an iceberg underneath. So you're seeing a small tip. Now the tip that you're seeing is, you will notice that people in your family are drinking a lot. They have problems with addiction. There is psychosomatic issues. They're going mad for no reason. In that family, people are mad. You start seeing lesbianism, gay homosexuality. There are things which are here. There is ground that had been taken. Jesus Christ has come and all that is clear. But you have to go and take it. And you have to take it and stand with it. If the president pardons me and I refuse to get out of that prison, even if the prison is just in my mind, I will still be in prison. I must grab hold of the blood of Christ. I must do that which he tells me to do. I must come and tell him, forgive me for the sins of my father. Forgive me. I cut the bloodline curses. You must stand in that gap. It is something, when you are going to accept Christ, you actually say with your mouth, I accept Jesus Christ as the Son of God. I accept that Jesus Christ died and he rose again on the third day. So in the same way, we must go and ask for forgiveness for the things that you are seeing. The things that you are saying were done in your bloodline. Go and ask God to forgive you. It's like you don't have to have people to pour water on you or put their hands on you. It's already done at the cross. You just have to go and take the forgiveness. Ask him for forgiveness. Take the blood of Jesus over it and then stand, and it's over. It's very, very simple. You don't have to go and get people to pray over you. All you have to do is go and take hold of that which Christ has already done on the cross. But the dangers are when you see those things happening, when the wind is blowing this way, you'll not see the wind, but you will see the plants moving. You'll see the leaves and the branches moving. When there is a whirlwind, you'll see the dust going round and round. Those are the signs of something is happening there. There are signs of icebergs, things that were done when you were not born. Go, take them, ask for forgiveness, and stand with Christ. That's all you have to do. It's very simple. Jesus Christ has died on the cross. There's nothing that can hold us back anymore. He's taken away every curse. It is nailed on that cross. The greatest miracle in my life is actually knowing that I am worth living. Actually knowing that I am a human being who has a right just like the other person. Actually knowing that I am created by a God who actually wanted me. I'm not a mistake. And knowing that my mind is okay, feeling fine, I'm fine. There is nothing more frightening than not being in charge of your mind. And for many, many years, I wasn't okay in my mind. There's nothing more frightening than hearing voices in your mind. I remember times when I would try and run into a river to throw myself into a dam on my mom's land. And she would be so frustrated. She wouldn't understand why. But I could hear the echoes of, get away, you're not wanted. Knowing that I am wanted, knowing that I'm loved, not by anybody. I don't have to be loved by anyone down here. Knowing that God loves me and that I was created for a reason and that I have a purpose in life and that I can do some good with my hands for his kingdom. That is the most, just thinking about it, I don't even have to eat. I sleep nicely. The most beautiful thing is the restoration of the mind. He restores you completely. I was grossly overweight. He restored me. When you start lean, you find that when you stop being addicted to the pills that you are taking, you now start getting addicted to food, and then your body gets, and I almost got diabetes. I knelt down and I said, Father, this is not mine. He took it away. I've never had diabetes again. He's there. He's palpable. He is there. God is as much there as this cloth. He's more there than this. This is more of a mirage than God. God is palpably around us. He can hear us right now, and he restores us. All he wants us to do is to take that which he has already given us at the cross. At the cross of Jesus Christ, every curse was broken. Every hex, every vex, there is nothing that we become like people who are wearing wetsuits. When you're wearing a wetsuit, even if people throw mud at you, it can't hold on to you. You're strong. He can restore. I remember at a time when I got around 54, there's a time when I was so miserable that I would tell people I'm 80 and they'd believe it. And I was 54. And I knelt down one day and I said, God, now I can see that you have a plan for me. Now, if you have a plan for me, God, how can I enjoy it if I look like this, if I'm feeling like this? That is when I started losing weight. That is when I started desiring to take the right foods and stop desiring to take potatoes and chips. And he just puts the right desires into you. And he makes you see life from his viewpoint. I'm going to be 64 in March. And I'm so proud of my age. And I looked 80 years old, and now he actually, when I knelt down and I asked him, won't you take away, give me back my youth? Because I felt there is a weight that falls upon you when you do not like yourself, that weight came along with kilos and wrong eating and just not, I wasn't completely whole. And when I asked him, I won't be able to enjoy anything by the time you're giving it, hata sijui ni lini you're giving it to me. So what if I'm already dying by that time? How will I enjoy it? Take away some years. I actually told him, take away 20 years. In a few months, I was able to walk 4 kilometers, 5 kilometers, going, coming. He does it. He is faithful. We are the ones who are not faithful. He is so faithful. God is faithful. And it hurts me to watch. There are people who are in my family still who are in bondage. And it hurts me because I love them. And it's not their fault that they're in bondage. And I'm not better than them. It's just this, God had a plan for me. This was the plan. And I do pray for them that God might touch them. And I do have people, my brother actually, he passed away a born-again Christian. Because by the time I had stopped being bitter with him and hating him and being jealous of his wealth, I went through all that evil inside my heart. And men of God who I was surrounding myself with and women of God would tell me, you have to pray for him. Jesus Christ died for him. And I started. And in 2022, he passed on a born-again Christian. God is alive and well, and he's powerful, and there is no one who is too far from his grasp. We cannot give up. We cannot, but please, nobody should enter into these please, I'm seeing young people doing things like money, what are they called? Money rituals. That money will not do you any good. Ask me. I have watched money, which is not clean, destroy the people who went after it with everything they had. Don't go into the secret societies. The Bible actually, we are told not to get into secret societies. We are told not to take an oath. You have to take an oath in those societies. So when God tells you not to do something, it's not for his good. He's not going to lose anything. He loves you. He already died for you. Everything is there at but you are the one who's going to suffer. If I don't do what he wants me to do, it's only me who's going to suffer, and my children. Why do I want my children to suffer? What about my great-grandchildren? I have grandchildren who are Kamba now, children that I was able to bring up in my walk of life. I have beautiful Kamba grandchildren, 2 of them. I have Luo grandchildren. I have so many. I have a family. I lost my family where I came from. And I walked away and I went into the desert with the Lord. And he went and blessed me with children outside there. And he brought them under my wing. And I have people who love me. He plants dreams inside your heart. And those when you walk with God, you start knowing how to recognize his soft voice and his visions. And you can tell apart the visions of Ugali and the ones of God. And he has put dreams in my heart. And I'm not desiring to have flats in Kilelesho. I'm not desiring to have big houses. I wouldn't mind if my children wanted them. I'd pray for them to get them. What I desire most, the dream he has put in my heart, is to tell people, when we were young, let me start here, when in the 60s, you could not find a poster on a lamp stand You could not find a poster on the roadside saying, "Welcome to Illuminati." You could not find such a thing. It was hidden and furtive and shameful. You got inside there, at night. Now it's open. So he's taking more ground. Now, as the enemy is taking more ground, we have a work to do. And me being a rejected person, I have only one desire, a huge desire, a desire that has taken everything inside me. I want to have a place where I can have the rejected people call home. A place where if you've been thrown out, you're not wanted for some reason, you have a place where you can have a bed, you can sleep, you have something to do during the day, you have food, somewhere where you'll be loved, and a place where you'll be shown how to walk with God, because He has a plan for every single one of us. I was given a chance to find Him by people who walked with me away from my family. And I want to give that chance to people, because there are people in very, very big families, important families, who are going through what I went through. And I know people who have come from huge families, this crème de crème, and they are wondering where they can go, because once you come from there, it is embarrassing to go and ask for somewhere to sleep. I want to make a place where someone can come and say, come and sleep here, come and sleep. This is good, this is God's land. Come, sleep, food here, chapel is there, there's a preacher who's going to talk to you. You need a counselor, there's a counselor. That is it's a dream that has encompassed me, and I don't have a single shilling, but the one who is inside me has money. That is my dream. Plus I'm writing my memoirs, my book, and basically doing that which He wants me to do, and leading my grandchildren towards knowing Him.